fabulous. Just goes to show what a family this is.
We saw at the start of that montage video there, and we all looked a lot younger in that, didn't we?
We looked a hell of a lot younger. I'm surprised. I think there's a photo of me dressed as a monk, blessing Vito. We'll maybe talk about that in a bit. And there's another one in me presenting Man of the Match, which would have been probably 2004. I've got no hair. That's when I used to shave my head. It's crazy.
There was one photo, there was a very young me. Luckily, we skipped very quickly. We're holding the initial playoff trophy that we won in that first season. When that photo was taken, I found out that half of the Lightning TV crew weren't even born.
That's the scary bit, isn't it? If
that
you look
is,
around and,
wow.
And
also,
very
scary.
It is when you think about it, the first season, going back to you, Mike, I think you were still at school. Were you doing? You were at sixth form.
I was finishing sixth form. Yeah.
Your nickname in the supporters group then was the student, wasn't it?
Yes, it was the student. Yes. Yeah, I'll scrounge around for a pint off of anyone. Actually, I still do that now, so I don't know why. Some things don't change.
So Vito, take us back to 2002. We knew about the obviously the Kings weren't going to be playing out this week anymore. There's a lot been said about that, but at the end of the day, Harry's come along. He's asked you to get together, form this new team.
There's a strange story about that, because that was even before then. It was probably Nick was playing for the Kings, and I'll never forget. We were training the juniors here, and I took Nick to one side. I said, Nick, one day you will run this team, and I said, and when you do, don't forget me. I'll be your stick man or your bucket boy. And he said, no. And he was convinced he was going to go and play somewhere else. And then he called me out of the blue and said, Beats, you're not going to believe. So we got together, me, Harry and Nick were already involved in the Thunder. We got together and we penciled out what was going to be this new proposal, this new team. And we pushed the boat out on the budget. And in those days, we didn't think we could afford it in those days. We said our weekly wage was £1,200, including tax. And it was incredible that we in those days, we were the better team, or one of the more expensive teams in the league.
It's scary when you think about that, isn't it? Even back then, 22, 23 years ago, it's still scary.
Yeah, I mean, just if you compare it to today's budget, and but bear in mind that the first few games we played, we didn't have huge crowds, but we had a strong core. The sad thing was the fan base got cut in two, so some of the fans chose to stay with the Kings, that became the Solihull Kings, and they moved up there, and the others were actually quite keen for a fresh start, and stayed with us, and then we built from there. But in the early days, it was not easy. I also remember the logo. It was getting close to when we needed to get some shirts, and we were looking at designs and things, and Dave Fairhurst did the logo on PowerPoint. And let me tell you that his was a great logo compared to some of the ones that we got given by other people and the suggestions.
Well, that's the thing now, because I was thinking about this earlier. The shirts, they look amazing, and when the game starts and people see the shirts and everything else, I dare anybody to say that's not a good-looking shirt, it's not a great logo. But back then, we got absolutely slated, didn't we? And bearing in mind, that was in the days before the internet, before social media. Can you imagine what would happen now?
Absolutely, it was incredible. But that was very quickly, I think it was in the second season, that we formed an even stronger bond with the supporters club, and that's where Harry really quite quickly understood that the supporters club could do a better job of merchandising than we could. And so whilst we controlled it, they were effectively running it and in charge of it. And we gave the whole marketing side of the Lightning to the supporters club, and the big revelation for us was when Dave Bunyan got involved and took over the whole thing. He was amazing. And at the beginning, you have to have it's almost a leap of faith with Dave, because you don't know him. We didn't know him that well, but for me, to this day, I think Nick probably one of the best ever signings on the ice, and off the ice, the best signing that we ever made was Dave Bunyan, because he's been a rock, and he very quickly brought us to the top of the pile in terms of our budget, in terms of the core of the team, in terms of the professionalism of the team. Going to away games and having tracksuits, with all the players looking the same. We very early on told the players that our old changing room was by the car park.
By the back there, yeah. It's underneath where the bar is now.
And they could quite easily, I think the Kings used to, some of the guys used to go in the car and not go into the bar and go home. And we put it into the players. We said, every single player, you are not allowed to go home unless you go into the bar first. Lose or win, you go through the bar and you talk to the fans, because the fans were massive. And there was little things like that were quite different to the old days. And you know, quite important, because we were involved with the juniors, we could see how the juniors needed to look up to these guys.
You mentioned that with that written into the contracts, go into the bar. That's still a part of the culture today. And is that just something that you're so happy just to hear, that imprint of the culture?
I love it.
To play in MK is still to do that.
I love it. And in some clubs, I don't know, I won't mention the club because it'd be unfair to do that, but I know that even today, they finish a game, they go out the back door, they get into the cars and they go home.
And there's very little interaction, which is a shame, isn't it?
It is a real shame, and it's so different to have. I mean, football, they do that, and I understand why footballers do that. But for us, you know, 2,000 or 3,000 fans, it's not a hardship at all. In fact, it's a privilege to be able to talk to fans after the game and say, guys, thank you for supporting us. Really, really important.
I mean, speaking as fans as well, when we first started, I mean, obviously, you know, a lot of us were involved and we were helping out sponsors and everything else, but you know, Pimmy will remember this, when we used to have a group called, we called ourselves the Black Army back then. You know, I'm not entirely sure we get away with that now, in all honesty. But it was innocently called because one of the main colours of the club was black. But you know, I remember that first, we had a barbecue at somebody's house, didn't we? We were just like, we'll form this group. What do we call ourselves? Oh, the Black Army, that'll do. And off we went, and we were up and down the country following in Moose's minibus, as it used to be.
Yeah, the Moose crew, yeah.
And it's funny you mentioned barbecue, because each year I would do a barbie at my house with the players, some of the helpers as well, and we do it so that the new players integrated with the existing core of the team. And it was used to drink me out of house and home, but it was a great day of just really making the Lightning be something more than just an anonymous club. It was a family club. It was a club that cared about its players and cared about its fans. And I think that's really, really important, and we've lost that a little bit in today's world. I begin to sound like my father, I tell you.
No, but that's right. It does. You do start to lose that, and you know, things like you used to hold regular fan forums, and you could feel that the heartbeat of the club was not just the people on the ice, the people around the ice, but it was the people who were paying their money to come in every single week, and it had that real family feel, and it still has that today. Yeah, okay. Today's social media may have lost it a little bit, but 2,500 people in here every single week. There is a core, isn't there?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I remember spending the night going round to the fans, shaking people's hands, chatting to them. How's so-and-so? How's so-and-so? And just involving fans in what was going on, how that, you know, and actually, you know, we had to call a couple of fans forums when we were stinking the place out. We were playing terrible. You know, fans were getting a bit frustrated, and we called a fans forum. Fans could come along. We would sit there and we would genuinely answer their questions.
You'd field any question, wouldn't you?
We would take any question
on the team.
And what it did is that, yeah, sure, people were frustrated, but they could understand some of our challenges. You know, why isn't so-and-so playing? Well, actually, he's carrying an injury. We've not publicised that because we don't want the away team to know exactly what it is, or the away teams, but we want to protect him. You know, and that was really quite important. It was, I go back. I think back to those days, some of the things that we did, and we made a lot of mistakes. Don't get me wrong, we got a lot of things wrong. Yeah, I'll never forget turning up to an away game, and we had our shirt boy that got the away shirts ready, and away you went to the away game, and we get there, and the shirts haven't arrived. And so a couple of guys had a couple of shirts, and I had to go into the crowd, our away supporters, to borrow shirts. And we got most of the players, but a couple of players had to play in different people's shirts, so we had to change the numbers.
Put tape across them back in those days.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
And then the tape would fall off halfway through, and the referees would pick you up for that. It used to be crazy.
Yeah. We certainly got some things wrong, but I think the core values, it's great to see what Tom, the team have done, what you guys have done here. I think you've done fantastic.
We've got to talk about the players, because you obviously said making the players part of that family, and we see the shirts hanging up in the rafters now, but these were guys, cases of like Lewis Christie, Grant McPherson came down from Scotland. Yeah. I remember Grant saying, I only thought I was going to be here maybe 2, maybe 3 years whilst I was a bit young, get a bit of game time. He now lives in Milton Keynes. He's completely engrossed in the city. Adam Carr's another one. Michael Farn. Some of the guys up the other end of the country came to Milton Keynes and they just became part of the culture, became part of the city.
Yeah, I think one of the things that Nick is, I personally, I think Nick's a fantastic coach, but he's an even better spotter of good players. And very quickly he realised that the success at our level here, whilst your imports are important, but your real success is your British players. And if you've got a strong core of British players, you can build the imports around. And Nick was very, very good. He could see a CV from a Swedish player playing in the top Swedish league, and he'd send me beats. What do you think of this guy? I said, Puli, he's got 3 points the whole season, but you trust me. And we bring him in, Stefan Katola, Jari Okkanen, some of these guys, and Monair.
I was going to say, Monair was never on anybody's radar, was he?
Nowhere. But Bobby saw him, and I still think one of the best players, the funniest one that we had was Wiki.
Joe Wicklander, what a hero.
Joe Wicklander was just an incredible guy, and I'll never forget, Pooley went to go and get him at the airport. And so there, if you can picture this, there's Nick Poole and Joe in the car. And Joe, just to put it right, he's got fantastic hands, but skates like a 4-year-old. Right? He's not a great skater, and he would say that. And they're in the car, and there's a quiet moment, and Nick and him had spoken for a little bit, and he turns around and he says, Nick, your teams. He says, what do you like in your team? He said, and Nick turned around and said, Joel, he says, all I have, he goes, in my team I have great skaters, really great skaters. That's what I really focus on, is good skaters. And he went silent for about 30 seconds, and then Joe went, Nick, when you see me skate, don't be upset.
But Nick, going back to the way Nick used to select his squads at the beginning of every season, at the time, I hadn't known a head coach to do it in this way, but Nick, a lot of coaches go on stats and everything else, and you said Nick never used to do that. And Nick always used to go on a point scoring system, didn't he?
He did.
And he used to use it that way. I've not seen many coaches use that particular system. It seemed to be unique to Nick.
It was.
And cultural fit was one of those, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. But he had an eye for. He understood very early, because he played in Finland. He understood that in Finland you've got, a team of 23 players, or 22, a squad of 22, 23. They were all very, very good skaters. And just to make that team, you were of a standard. And you think some of the BNL teams in the old days, there were some good players that come across. But then when you went down to 2 imports at the beginning, 3 and then 4 and then 5, when you went down to that level of imports, you also had to have guys that complemented. But actually our successors were people like, Gary Clark, Kazi, fantastic player, Lee Jameson. And whilst, you've got people like G, that have now made it their home, they were the third line players, but these guys were just as important. And I alluded to it earlier, where we would go to play away against a team that had 2 great lines, which they used to do in the old days, and Nick would insist on having 3 good lines, and he'd put our third line out, the banana line. He'd put our third line out with their top line, and just rotating our 3 lines meant that we were fresher for longer in the game. And actually, where that's important is that we play at home on a Saturday, but by Sunday, second period Sunday, the legs are flaming a little bit. And where we were lucky is, having played 3 lines Saturday and 3 lines for a period and a half, by then, by 30 minutes in, you knew that the last 30 minutes were ours. And you can turn games. And as long as we kept it tight to begin with, we would win that game.
There's a couple of signings. I'm only going to talk. There's a couple of signings that raised a few question marks when they were signed. I'm not going to mention one, because he probably came here and didn't want to be here anyway. But one, you signed him, and I know the influence came from Dave Bunyan on support of the club on this. The day you released, the press release came out about we've signed Kurt Irvine, and everybody to a man was like,
no,
what?
worse than that. So we signed him, and on the Tuesday night training, a fan came in and bought a season ticket, and he says, there's my season ticket back. I am not supporting this club by Kurt Irvine.
I know who that was. Yeah.
And he gave us a season. We said, look, no. And we caught him like a little bit later, the year later, because Kurt was with for 5 years. The year later we got him, and we actually got him back to a game. But it was funny. We sold so many Kurt Irvine shirts.
He was a legend. He was an absolute lightning legend. And do you know what? I know it's an old cliche when you talk about people who, who run you ragged on the ice. The Andre Payets of the world and people like that. But they are just so nice off
Amazing.
it, which makes it even more infuriating, doesn't it?
Amazing. And I also remember, when we signed Nicky Chin and Wiggy. Chris Wiggins. And Chris Wiggins, for those who don't know him, is a lovely lad. He's a lovely, lovely guy. He's 6'5", 6'6", whatever he is, and might be taller than that. He's got hands that you can park 3 cars on them. They're just huge hands on him. And I'll never forget, Peterborough signed this overseas player, and they decided to take a 2-page spread. He was a street fighter, or
I remember the guy.
MMC or something. One of these ring fighters,
Yeah.
And they said, we've signed the toughest guy in the league. And I never forget, I picked up the phone and I spoke to the owners. I said, guys, what are you doing? You're going to get, this poor man's going to have to fight every single week because everybody's going to think, I want to try. And I know, but they can try. He goes, after the first week, nobody will want to fight him. So I said, okay, fair enough. And we used to have the Ashes game, the first game of the season, or pre-season. And I'll never forget going there and Wiggy came around the corner. We were in Peterborough. It was first game, first shift. He hits this guy. This guy turns around to fight Wiggy. Wiggy knocks him out cold. He's unconscious for a good period of time.
Well, I've got a feeling that, and sadly, we may have come to the end of our time because that's the end of warm-up. But it's been an absolute pleasure. So thanks, and Mike, to the club and all of Lightning TV. Thanks for having me up here, especially. It's a real trip down memory lane. I can't believe what you've done with the place, literally. It's amazing. It's absolutely fantastic.
Well, thank you so much for both of you for joining us, and it's great to have the memories. And I know that a few of the legends are here in the ring tonight, so they'll be sharing stories and having a chat over probably a few beers up in the bar. Thank you so much for joining us in here, and we're going to take a quick moment here, and then it will be Harrison and Aaron that will be leading you with the commentary between the Lightning and the Bison. But thank you for joining us. Vito, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Chris, thank you again. It's great to have you back here on the gantry again. And we'll see you very soon. And we'll be handing over to Harrison and Aaron right now.
And with that, the 2025 season comes to an end. Good night.
Harrison, in terms of the game tonight, of course, speaking about that, I mean, the Bison in town, this one should be a great fixture, shouldn't it?
With rich history, but also in having some difficult times of late as well. The table isn't looking pretty for either side. There's important points to pick up, and it is going to be an important one for both sides. And Bison are looking to get a 4-point weekend, of course, as well. And Lightning are looking to bounce back after defeating Swindon. So, big points on the line. It is a 4-pointer, as you might call it.
Most definitely is. Well, yeah, yesterday's result didn't quite go in the favour of the Lightning, did it? Losing 5-3 at the Link Centre against the Swindon Wildcats. Basingstoke, meanwhile, victors 5-4 against the Solway Sharks in overtime. So, as you said, very much a case of a 4-point weekend for Basingstoke and a little bit of a salvage job for the Lightning. So, with all of that in mind, Harrison, I say that we should introduce the two sides, and we'll start by taking a quick look at the away team. Let's take a look at your Basingstoke Bison for tonight. So, wearing the number 4, one of the alternate captains is Adam Harding. Wearing jersey number 8 is Will Stead. He'll be on the third line for Jeff Flanagan's men. As for the number 13, that is Zach Shankar, one of the imports for the Bison this season. Wearing the number 15 is Ty Cathcart. Wearing the number 19 jersey is Adam Erskine. Wearing the number 21 is Evan North. 2 goals and 4 assists so far for the number 21 this season. Then there's Brendan Selland, someone who's got some good recent history against the Milton Keynes Lightning. Wearing number 24 is Zach Milton. The last time the Bison were in this division, he was the leading Brit in terms of points scored. Jersey number 29 is Alex Samford. Jersey number 40, the backup in the net tonight, is Dean Skins, a former MK man. Jersey number 42, the starting netminder, is Max Wright. Jersey number 51 is Reece Cochran, the former Bristol Pitbull. He joined up with the Bison in December. Wearing 74 is Liam Morris. Jersey number 75 is donned by Brendan Baird. Number 89, the other of the alternate captains, is the experienced Tom Ralph. Number 93, the last of the imports, the forward Luke Spadafora. Certainly someone to watch out for this evening. And wearing number 94, the captain of the Basingstoke Bison, it is Stuart Mogg. So that is your away side for this evening, the Basingstoke Bison. So let's now take a look at your home side and let's introduce your Milton Keynes Lightning. So wearing jersey number 1, your starting netminder, it is of course Jordan Headley. Wearing jersey number 2 is Adam Rosbottom, one of the newcomers for the Lightning this season. Wearing jersey number 4 is Archie Salisbury. Wearing jersey number 5, one of the imports for the Lightning this season, is Jordan Spadafor. Wearing jersey number 7 is Josh Kelly. Wearing jersey number 11 is Callum Field. Jersey number 14 is Andy Heath, one of the youngsters on the Lightning in this campaign. Wearing number 15, returning to the Lightning lineup, is the captain, James Griffin. Wearing jersey number 23 is Dom Gabai. Wearing jersey number 26 is Josh Saunders, the young defenceman. Possesses a very heavy shot on him, does the Scotsman. Wearing jersey number 29 is Elliot Lewis. Your backup netminder for this evening is Will Curlin. Wearing jersey number 37 is Patrick Forsberg. Wearing jersey 55 is Malik Martelli. Great to see him back in a Lightning jersey. Number 63 is the Finnish import, Janne Jokinen. Wearing 71 is Harry Gulliver, one of the go-to English forwards for the Lightning. Wearing jersey 86 is Sean Norris. He bagged one yesterday. Can he score again this evening? We shall wait and find out. Jersey number 89 is Rio Grinnell Park. Jersey number 95 is Jordan Cowney, the Flying Scotsman. And last but by no means least, at least for the numbered players, is Jarvis Hunt wearing number 96. We've also got Cole Gianandrea playing this evening. You've got your head coach, Tim Wallace. Joe Wilson, one of the assistant coaches. And last but by no means least, the second of the assistants is Lewis Christie. So, that is your respective rosters for this evening's game. Harrison, in terms of those two sides, on paper, looks pretty strong.
Captain George Norcliffe not in the side as well, Marcus Bradley and Oliver Hemmings-Mayer, who scored his first Bison goal of the season when it came down to it on Friday. So a few players missing for the Bison. The Lightning still without Archie Salisbury and Toms Rutkiss. Lewis Conroy is icing in Bristol for the Thunder, and that is the absentees. Also, well wishes to Ed Nags, who has been ruled out for the season due to injury. We wish him all the best.
Most definitely. Great to see James Griffin back as well, the captain, our skipper here in Buckinghamshire. Of course, both he and his partner Jill welcoming Teddy into the world a few days ago. So great to see Griff back in the side. And, well, it's an absolute pleasure. It is retro night here in Milton Keynes. It's not just myself and Harrison on commentary tonight. It is an absolute pleasure and a privilege to welcome into the comms gantry number 21, retired in the rafters forever. It is the great Ross Green. Ross, how are you, mate?
I'm great. Thank you for having me here tonight, guys. I'm just admiring how great this setup is and how professional it is. First time I've been up here, so pleasure. Thank you for having me tonight.
Well, no, it is an absolute pleasure, mate. And before we get into our ones to watch, of course, this is a celebration of the 02-03 season, the first ever campaign which featured the Milton Keynes Lightning. I know in terms of playing days, Ross, from a pro capacity, maybe a little bit too early on in your career, but do you have any memories from that season as such?
No, I do. That was really my first kind of like season I really got into it, and coming down, watching the team. That's when I first started playing for Milton Keynes Storm. They'd just kind of like come in, and it was absolutely fantastic. I remember kind of going down, especially some of the away games with my dad at Peterborough, some of the rivalries that we used to have. It was incredible back then, and it's great to see these retro jerseys as well that everyone's kind of got on tonight, rolling back the years. So yeah, no, I remember it fondly. I remember a lot of the players, and I actually got to share a lot of the ice with them as I got a bit older. So that was a real pleasure to see those heroes as you're kind of growing up. Your likes of Dwayne Newman, Gary Clark, Nick Pauls. All of those guys, and sharing the ice with them, training and playing as I got older was just incredible to kind of learn from them. So,
It's the dream, isn't it? You go from being a fan in the stands here at the Thunderdome to representing the club alongside those legends. It doesn't really get any better than that, does it?
No. And when we had the old rink, it was all kind of in a slightly different setup. That the changing room used to kind of be under where reception is, so all the players would walk out and they'd come round to where the kind of bar area is, and I used to stand there with my dad, and every game I would open the door for warm-up, because they'd warm up on the opposite end, and I'd fist bump all of the players, and that used to be like my little kind of like ritual and routine. And so yeah, it was just a fantastic moment when you got to kind of pull on the shirt for the first time, walk out of there, and go get on the ice at that exact same kind of like spot. So it was really surreal.
I can imagine it was, and well, we are getting closer to the opening face-off here in Milton Keynes. A tickle under 8 minutes before the Lightning and the Bison do battle. I mean, Ross, will talk about your storied career at length. He's not the only guest as well, folks. We've got some absolute doozies lined up this evening, so do stick around for periods number 2 and 3 as well. But I'll go back to Harrison, because we do, of course, have some ones to watch, don't we, tonight, Mr. Mills? And we'll start with the home side. From a Lightning perspective, who are you keeping extra close tabs on here tonight?
I think there can only be one man, and that is Mac Howlett. He's on hot form at the moment. 3 games he's played for the Lightning since making the move down from the Leeds Knights, and he's already set himself on 7 points, 1 goal and 6 assists in those 3 games. Made his debut up in Solway, and he's just lit up on that second line with Harry Gulliver and Jordan Cowney. He's just provided that extra little bit of speed that I think that line might have been missing before. And when you lost the import of Ilya Korenchuk, there was always that missing forward line, and it's almost like he's come in and filled that like a plaster. There is so much good about him, and he creates a lot of play on that wing, and he's going to cause a lot of problems for this Bison defence.
Definitely is. It's a long-term signing as well, isn't it? 2.5 years for Mac Howlett. I think it's what we call in sports a bit of a coup. It's a great pickup for the Lightning. And as for the Bison, Harrison, what about the visitors? There's quite a few. We spoke about Spadafora and Selland before the game. Who would you pick out for Jeff Flanagan's side?
See, I've gone for Evan North. I think seeing him last time he was here, he scored an absolute ripper on that near face-off dot. just above the blocker of Jordan Headley, and it came out of absolutely nowhere. It took us by surprise on comms. It was us on comms that night as well. And he comes with a lot of pace and a lot of just ability with him. So it's going to be an interesting one when it comes to what he's going to provide, because obviously you spoke about Brendan Sellum and you spoke about Spadafora, but they've got a very good brick core, and he's one of those that, along with the likes of Reece Cochran and Liam Morris, who are going to cause problems for this Lightning side.
I think it's, as you said, Evan North. I actually had the pleasure of coaching him for South West Under-13s, and so seeing him will be great for me tonight to actually watch him improve. I got to spend a bit of time with him through that season and coached him over at Sheffield. He's a fantastic player, and I know he went out to the States following that and applied his trade out there. So it'd be great to see him improve. He was always very skillful, good skater, and I did see the highlight of that goal following that he scored that down here. So it'd be great to see him. And as you say, you've got Liam Morris, who's always can be a bit of a thorn in everyone's side. He kind of reminds me of the old Grant McPherson. He's probably one of those players that you'll hate to play against. I remember we used to hate playing against him, but if he's probably on your team, he's one of those guys that you love to kind of have there. So everyone's going to stay calm, because I know he'll be out there trying to agitate people and get us to take a few silly penalties tonight. But yeah, just got to play our game, stick to the game plan, and hopefully nullify him a little bit tonight.
Most definitely, yep. Penalty minutes have been the name of the game for Liam Morris at times this season. 71 so far in this campaign, and well, we are getting closer and closer to face-off, less than 5 minutes away. And I believe we are about to switch over to the main stream. So for those tuning in on the YouTube, if you want to go and purchase the stream, feel free to go to the Lightning website right now as we get ready for the opening face-off between the Lightning and the